Now we are going to look at our lower body sculpting session, our glute sculpting session, and we're going to be using kettlebells to get there. So we want to start off choosing our kettlebell. Make sure you got the right weight. You don't want to go too heavy. Going too light is always the right way to go. So we want to place our kettlebell in front of us to give us the momentum we want to start with, and we're going to start with the low swing. Let me come this way so I have more space. So we want to use our tension as much as possible. So I want to reach down, have my knees straightened out. Now I'm going to flatten out my back, give a little bit of bend, sit back into my hips. And now the weight of sitting back will allow the kettlebell to start into the swing. Then I'm going to swing underneath, hips forward for that low swing. So I want to try and keep my knees really upright here so I can feel the tension in the hamstring, just hinging and bending to get the space so I don't hit myself in the crotch, giving me just that space to drive the kettlebell between my legs, feeling the bottom of the glute, feeling that hamstring. I'm going to squeeze my glutes now at the bottom. Squeeze all the way through the top of the swing. We're going to swing for 50 here, or about 2 minutes straight. We can get a little bend in our elbows. The kettlebell doesn't have to come past our navel. We get a pop of the hips at the top. Each time you swing, you can focus on your feet, your hips, your hands, trying to get better with the rhythm and repeat each one the same. So, it's a low swing. Low meaning small amount of motion in our back, small height for the kettlebell. For the high swing, we're going to pull back through our shoulders, elevating the kettlebell to our nipples, using that extra momentum to hinge through our hips, keeping again as much tension in the hamstrings as possible, allowing a bend to allow us to get deeper as we dig in. So for the high swing, we're going to start out, pull it back, pull high, pull back with the shoulders, tuck the chin, fire the hips forward, pulling back. As we pull back with the shoulders on the way down, we're pulling the kettlebell underneath us, allowing it to swing underneath. As it swings underneath, it pulls us deeply into the hamstrings. At the bottom of this swing, we squeeze our glutes tight, pulling the chest through, hinging the hips forward at the end, maximum glute squeeze at the end. Here we're going to go for 25 heavier swings. Out in front, digging deep. So those are our kettlebell high swings. Next exercise, we're going to look at our kettlebell squats. So we're going to look at a couple of variations. First, classic double arm, comfortable width for our feet. We want to try and keep our spine upright. We let our knees come forward. We're not keeping our knees on top of our heels. We're going to try and sit down as deep as we can. Classic sort of ass to the grass squat. In order to get maximum glute involvement, at the bottom here we squeeze our glutes and push the toes to the top, almost like we're jumping. That will make sure we're using the glute max the whole way through. Second variation, you can look at just a single arm hold. Bring the kettlebell into the rack position and hit each set of 10, aiming to get that elbow deep inside, sit into that squat, firing up through each side. You can do 5 on each side or 10-10, work on your kettlebell squat this way. The next variation is the knee over toe kettlebell squat. So now we're going to look at letting our knees come forward rather than our hips going back. So the ankle and the knee is going to have more motion, and the back's going to try and stay straight up. We're doing this motion, sitting on our heels, and then coming back up to standing. By doing this, we should be squeezing and engaging the glutes the whole way down, and if we stay on our toes, the whole way up. We can also bring in something behind our heels here to push us into the heel elevated squat. So this is our knee over toe or KOT squat. Grab our kettlebell. I like to start with the knees together. And we're going to work on sets of 10. If 10 is easy with your weight, you can go up to 20, or you can grab a heavier weight for more of a challenge. So that's our swings and our squats. As you go through doing your swings and squats in your program, you'll alternate low swings and then some squats, high swings and then some knee forward squats, back to low swings and maybe single arm squats, back to high swings and then back to knee forward. After that, we're going to move on to our back leg elevated lunges. So what we want to work on here is a deep lunge where we get into the front leg. So we want the knee to come forward. We want to sit on that front heel. We want to work on the stability here, firing that glute for balance, and that glute elevating us up and back. So we're pushing off the toes the whole time. Given the limitations that we're finding with your foot, pushing into that toe might cause some inflammation and flaring there. So we want to use some tools that you're going to have around to take that out of the equation. For me, I'm just going to use the weight rack I have behind, but you can grab a bench or whatever to elevate that back leg on. And then we're here, we can find the same space. So we just keep that back leg elevated and we shift the weight onto the front leg, into the glute, using the stretch out of the backside for stability, and then pushing up onto that front leg to keep the base in that front leg side. Grabbing our weight. And we want to focus our lunges onto that front leg. If we're feeling like we need more of a stretch, something's going on with the quads, then we can sit back here and do some more quad focused, groin dominant lunges as we fatigue or look for some more variance. So you do 5 on each side and you work straight through your sets of lunges. After that, we'll finish with either the glute ham machine for the glute drive, or the glute drive machine. If we don't have that, and I don't have one here, we will do single leg glute bridges. So we come onto our back, glute bridge, single leg, lower down, fire it up, push the top, bring it in, and push at the top. Five to 10 on each side. And you can repeat those for 3 to 5 sets as your glute finisher.